Good afternoon. This is the Democratic Alliance Labour Report. It's Wednesday, the 12th of July, 2023, and I'm going to try and handle some issues that are outstanding, and let's have a look at what the Democratic Alliance will be doing about it and the way forward. So thank you for tuning in. Please share this if you're happy with it. Please let me have some feedback. It's always good to have feedback, and a lot of people do give me feedback, so thank you very much for that. We're going to look at the agreement signed between the IFP and the DA. That's an historic pact, which is interesting. It's going to create a lot of jobs in KwaZulu-Natal. We want to look at the unemployment of nurses and nurses going off to other jurisdictions to find employment. I want to have a look at 9,000 unemployed social workers and what we're doing about that. BMW has threatened to stop manufacturing of the motor vehicles, all sorts of problems there. We're going to also have a look at the post office and business rescue and 7,000 jobs being lost by the post office. So it's Michael Bagram. I'm the Labour spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance, and thank you for tuning in. Like I said, it's Wednesday, the 12th of July, 2023. Well, let's look at the first thing. The IFP in KwaZulu-Natal and the Democratic Alliance have signed an historic pact. They've worked together now for a few by-elections. It's worked. It looks like these forthcoming elections are going to be really good, with the IFP and the DA holding hands in going into taking over the province. And we at least be able to show that in KwaZulu-Natal we can try and recreate exactly what's happened in the Cape Province, where jobs are being created, where the province is solvent, and where we've had a clean audit. So thank you to the DA for the magnificent work that has happened in the Cape Province, and in particular with regard to job creation. We can see in the last 2 quarters they've had positive growth in jobs, and we want to see that in KwaZulu-Natal as well. So I'm very excited. I'm enthused. To me, this is probably one of the biggest things that's happened in this last year. In terms of going forward into the next election. It's great news. Well, the next issue, the 9,000 unemployed social workers. We have in government right now 12,000, I think it is, vacancies. Now, if there are vacancies, even if there's one vacancy, social workers are desperately needed. We have 9,000 unemployed social workers. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to take those skills and chase them out of the country? The Democratic Alliance would immediately fill all the vacant posts with the people that we have got standing in the unemployment queue. It is absolutely unacceptable, and we can't carry on like that. It's a strange fiction that we have an ANC government and are actually keeping people out of jobs, when in fact at the end of the day we've trained them, we've spent money on them, we desperately need them. At this time in our history we need social workers desperately, and we're doing nothing about it. Now the issue about the BMW and the manufacturing of motor vehicles. Now the government has over years been shouting from the treetops as to how fantastic we are and that we've manufacturing vehicles, we're exporting them to Europe and America and all over. They're saying this is a fantastic industry. But what are they doing? They want to increase those factories. They want to actually have more lines for manufacture, but they need expert technicians to come in from Germany and from around the world. They need the experts to come in to run those lines, to train locals and to employ locals. So what does our government do? Now, you can't make this up. Absolutely not. But the ANC in its wisdom has not granted those expert people visas to come and work in South Africa. Now, what are you trying to send a message out? You're sending a message to Germany, we don't want your vehicle manufacture, we don't want BMW here. What are they trying to say? It is unbelievably strange. One day we'll hear why they did that, what's going on. But I don't think this is an issue for the future. I think as a new coalition government led by the DA comes into power by the end of 2014, we will be very quick to issue those visas, bring people in on conditions. First of all, that the person and the skills cannot be obtained locally. Second of all, when you bring the person in, it's on a strict visa, in other words, a certain period of time. And during that time, they must train locals. And that each employer will give an undertaking that not only will that person leave at the end of that period, but they would have actually had certain people trained, and that we've had locals employed with the expert to assist. So we're going to create jobs here in South Africa in those plants. We need that expertise, and we need to do it quickly. We can't afford to go and anger companies like BMW or Mercedes-Benz. It doesn't make any sense. Post office, wow, that's something. They haven't had growth in that post office for years. They've been, money's been going through like pouring water into a colander. We're not sure what's actually happening. They're now in business rescue. Maybe the business rescue practitioners can tell us what's happened to most of the money. But there are 7,000 jobs that will be lost because of this exercise. 7,000 jobs. Remember, we're at 40% unemployment in this country. Many of those people will have to get paid severance payment. Many of those people will then be withdrawing their pension, etc., and they'll never find other jobs. That is tragic, what's going on with the post office. But think about it. Just think this through. The reality is, post office has branches all over the country, which is accessible to the people. It's all very well to say Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, no problem. Those people can get to banks, and they can get to their SASSA grants, and they can get wherever. But what about the person who's living in a village, a remote village? How do they get their SASSA grant? How do they get even a fishing license? Something as mundane as that. You have to do it through a post office, and we haven't got that facility for them. Our government, unfortunately, has let the people down. Now, the Democratic Alliance has to move in very quickly and try and realign and reassess the post office and get it going. It might be necessary to find a partner for the post office, to look to the private sector so that we can run it properly. We need those branches. They've got the infrastructure. It's all there. This is the sad thing about South Africa. We have infrastructure. We have systems. But the current government under the ANC has destroyed the infrastructure, bastardized the systems, and people are losing jobs all over the place. The other issue, the real issue in South Africa today is, where do we go in terms of creating jobs? And we need to move quickly on that. We need to ensure that small business is deregulated as quickly as possible. It's something that we need to understand, and it's something that we need to move on. I was just looking at the figures, and I'm looking at them now, so sorry I'm looking down, but labor absorption in the country has worsened to 46%. In other words, people coming out of tertiary education, of schools, or wherever they've come out, we've got labor absorption is only dropped to 46%. Now, it's worse. We've got 500,000 fewer young people in jobs as opposed to 3 decades ago at the advent of our democracy. So you've got 500,000 people less than we had 30 years ago. I mean, that's a statement of note, because this country has moved forward. But in moving forward, the ANC government has destroyed us. And we're going to take a long, hard look at this. And as a Democratic Alliance, we need to start rebuilding. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being there. It's the Democratic Alliance Labour Report, Wednesday the 12th of July 23. And it's Michael Bagram, DAMP Labour spokesperson. Thank you.